expanding our scope a little bit, especially with all the foreign wars and the unrest abroad, what does it mean in terms of our foreign adversaries and the foreign wars now that we have a lame duck president?
Well, I think this is a scenario that concerns a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. Is the perception of American weakness. If Biden stepped down in part because people thought he was too weak to run for reelection, then what does that say about the United States, as a whole? And during his remaining months, while we're focused internally on our electoral process, our national security leaders, acutely aware of challenges to American interests abroad. Are they, cyber attacks? I've been saying for a long time, when are we going to have, an AI created video of Trump or Biden or maybe Harris saying something that isn't something they really said? That could cause, a national security issue. So I think now it is a very sensitive time, and I think leaders in our intelligence community and national security community need to be very aware of opportunism, that might be taken advantage of by foreign adversaries. So I think you're exactly on the mark there.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the scariest times in American history, in my opinion, because you have so many threats abroad. I mean, if I'm China, I'm licking my lips at Taiwan right now. If I'm Iran, I'm licking my lips at expanding my nuclear program right now. If I'm Putin, I'm licking my lips at getting a little bit more aggressive and trying to expand that territory.
Well, and it's also a question if you're a foreign leader, we there's a lot we don't know. I mean, we're spending most of this conversation talking about all the unknowns, but we do know one thing: President Biden is not going to be the next president after January 20th. So if you're a foreign leader, you're thinking in terms of your own national interests. Are you better off what? Moving now, making a deal with the Harris administration, making a deal with the future Trump administration? I mean, I think these foreign leaders are just as able to calculate this as we are here, and they're going to figure out what might be in their best interests, and I think they will respond accordingly.
Yeah, that's a great point. Do you think foreign leaders are going to be more inclined to support Trump or Harris? I mean, I know that's a very loaded question.
I think it depends on the issue. If you're Netanyahu visiting Washington, Netanyahu has said very nice things, about Trump and about his candidacy. And so, if I were Netanyahu, and I don't, I mean, I think the peace talks going on, and I think Cairo these days are somewhat secretive. I don't know that we know much about what's going on in there. But if Israel is sending representatives to those peace talks in Cairo, maybe I'd rather drag my feet a little bit, and hope that I'd rather make a deal with the Trump administration than a Biden administration.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when it comes to Netanyahu, I think Netanyahu is definitely going to be more pro-Trump. He's obviously come out to be very much more pro-Israel than the Biden administration has, and I know Putin has said that he wants Trump to win, which a lot of Democrats are hammering on him. But I think Putin wants to end the war too. So it's going to be interesting to see.
I think Putin wants an honorable way out, and I think the first American who can come up with some kind of a deal with Putin where he can save face and where it looks like a victory, and where we allow him to claim that without challenging him, is the person who's going to be a signatory of that agreement along with Vladimir Putin. So I think Trump, I'm not really sure what he believes, half the time. But when you build skyscrapers in Manhattan for a living and in other big cities in the world, you have to learn how to cut deals. And you know that your enemy today can be your friend tomorrow. You've got to make deals with labor unions, political officials, legal officials, all types have to be cobbled together to build the building. And while I don't really know a lot of what Trump stands firmly for, I think he's someone you can make a deal with. And I think these foreign leaders, well, they don't like him, and he criticizes them sometimes. I think if you're a foreign leader, you'd rather make a deal with the devil that you know than an unknown in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he literally has, a book that he wrote, The Art of the Deal. So this is a guy who loves cutting deals. He loves negotiating. I mean, speaking of Trump, what seems like ancient news now, the Trump assassination attempt we haven't touched on. What were your thoughts as that news broke and you watched that unfold?